So let me just show you how this business expense module works for an employee and as an accountant. So first, I'm here in the login page, and let me log in as an employee. Okay, so I've just created some dummy usernames for employees. For example, employee one, E1, and password is E1. So when I logs in, the employee logs in. I've already done a kind of user access control to limit the access right now in the system for the expenses module and the generic dashboards and other discussion modules, etc. So while login itself, an employee is directly viewing his expenses list. It is taking a little time because I think there is a slowness in the connection from my side. So he gets a list of all the expense list basically. So you don't have to actually go into the different menus and find out how to enter an expense. So now how he can create a new expense. It's simple, and I see a create button. So these are the different status also I can see. So I got the create. So I have to write some text. I put the category as business visit, and I choose subcategories under business visits, like suppose if it's a train ticket, and then I have to put the amount, for example 200 or 220. Then I can choose a date, so by default it will choose a date, current date, so I can choose a date. And then if I need to put any other references, so but uh, it's not a mandatory one. Then if I try to save here, no, because I have to attach the file also. That means the actual ticket, the copy of the ticket. So I have to attach some file, and then I can choose the currency if required. Then I save. Okay, so it is saved. Now I can submit. So I can also directly do submit without saving. So it does both save and submit. Okay, so my expense is submitted. So like this employees can submit, and you see this. You can see that we cannot see any further menus for employees in expenses. So he only sees these expenses, so nothing else. And like something like his expense report, like to see what all expenses that he had submitted, and something what we see here for his different stages. So he can draw a graph by himself, and he could group by so different things, which is not really required which is not really mentioned in the requirements for an employee. But I just kept reporting a graph option if in case the employee want to see some reports. Now, employee 2, second employee, I also have something, so he will also enter it in the similar way. Now, let me log in as an accountant and then see the next what all I could do as an accountant. So, I have just created one accountant with usernames A1 and password A1. So, I log in to the system. Now, the accountant, I have configured a dashboard for accountant so that on the first login he will be directed to a dashboard where he could see, as I mentioned in the last call, that he has two sections to do, two things to do actually: expenses to book and the expenses to pay. Then he can also see view some graphs as per this is actually the different subcategories, how it is performing in terms of the expenses, and then this expenses per month, so which subcategory is doing what, so meals, so different colors. And this is just a dashboard. He could see detailed graphs in the reporting menu. This also I had shown before. Okay, now here is just a second. So so we could configure the dashboards in different ways. But what he basically have to do is he has to go into the expenses. So he also has a limited menus, but he sees his own. So he has a possibility to put his own expenses, and it will work in the same way as we saw for the employees. And as an accountant, he see these two lists that he can quickly see what are the submitted expenses from different employees. So he can group by employees, and he see that okay, this employee has got two expenses which are submitted and to be booked. So he can click here and then go to action and book expense. Okay, so this means this will go from this list and this will come into his expenses to pay. Okay, so now if I go back to, for example, the dashboard, we could see that there are more expenses to pay. So he can go here and do it by one, or he can go into the list in his expenses menu and as an expenses to pay. Okay, then he will be seeing. Okay, so this is configuration is there actually, uh, where I can filter and say that if that configuration is not done, it's booked, not paid. Okay, so these are booked, not paid. He can group by employee. Okay, so this employee one has got three expenses booked and not paid. So I can click all the three together, and he could do register payment. Okay, then it asks the mode of payment. How is the payment is to be made? This happens maybe end of the month or the starting of next month or in 2 weeks or something like that. So he could do a bank transfer or a cash dollars. So suppose he does a bank inter transfer. So that's just then he can mention some memo. Something like this and validate. So this is also right now integrate with accounts. So we will see later how we have to handle the accounting side. So then here I had already shown that these different reports that is being seen from the dashboard. So we can also draw different graphs as per different employees expenses graphs. So employees, or I can group by expenses month. So I see different months and I see I can add more things here. Okay, so now if I want to see by the subcategories, again I can go to this reports, I can go to the graph. Yeah, yeah, I have already added this as a graph. So in my favorites, so I can see in July what is happening, in August what is happening with different subcategories expenses wise. So these are the things that is configured in the system right now. So maybe I will send the logins as an email. Thank you.